Hey, I'm Jay, and I've got something to say about Next Level Miniatures Encounters the Gutters. So I have Next Level Encounters. I'm going to do one of these little sets kind of at a time. And this is the Gutters. This is the one that I think is the most useful for me because I don't have this size carrying crawler, and O-tugs are hard to find, and leeches and stuff. So here's the contents: one carrion crawler, one little weird guy with a mask, two plague rats, two leeches, a crocodile, four little gremlocks, and some terrain. So here's a crocodile. You need to assemble his lower jaw. This is a WizKids alligator, and here's a Reaper Dire. So you can see that's pretty good. That's pretty much right in line. This O-tug's going to be fiddly because it's hard. This stuff is actually pretty hard to glue. So here's a bunch of tentacles that are all loose little bits. The two little leeches. Here's a human for scale. Let's get that at a better angle. Human for scale. That thing will eat you alive. Human for scale with the leeches. Here's the sewer grate. It's a broken sewer grate. Here's some dungeons and lasers. Manhole cover. So that's about the same, same size, about the size of a base. Little rats. These might actually make pretty cool bases for like a were-rat or something instead of scatter terrain. This got some slime dripping off of it, or coming out of it, or flowing into it, however you want to, whether that's wall mounted or flat. So that's pretty cool. Little filth pile. Again, you compare that to some of the stuff you get from Dungeons and Lasers. It's pretty much, comparable to that. These rats are pretty beefy. They're really hideous. Maybe a little cartoony in the face. But this is an old metal TSR branded. I don't know if it was Grenadier or something else, but it was actually TSR. Came from a TSR box. So there's like a swamp rat. And here's a little Reaper. Reaper has rats in like 10 different sizes. So there's a little Reaper rat. These are the little Morlock guys. Sorry about the shadow. See if I can get in focus here. And size comparison. Here's the little gibbering howler from Volume 2. Here's a human. Maybe we'll stand a couple of these guys up. Put that next to the human. Right, so they look a little small. Like, it's weird. They're roughly the same size, but their proportions. They're roughly the same size, but their proportions make them look significantly smaller than the human. Sorry about shaking the camera all around. I know that's got to be crazy to watch, annoying to watch, but like they're almost the same size as the human, but because of their proportions, it makes them look shrimpy, which is weird. And here's one of the resized hobgoblins from Volume 2. That's kind of in line with the WizKids human. And then the big bad stretch goal. Oh, it does come with bases, but here's the big bad stretch goal. There is a gold dragon, and he is large and in charge. And there's the human next to him. He's huge. Here's a blind pack gold dragon for size comparison. That's on a large base. So this is an appropriate large young dragon in 5e. But this is as big as they came back before they were doing the really big blind packs. So here's a Dungeons and Lasers dragon. It's about the same size. This retails for 30, but you can find it for maybe like 21, 22, 25 for those. Here's the WizKids Young. That's like 15. So, you know, the body's bigger, but the overall table presence is about the same for those. And then here's the little itty bitty Volume 1 guy in front that I haven't finished painting. So, you know, so I value this guy at about $15 just for him. So we'll go over like some of the other stretch goals, the trolls and stuff when I do another set. Hope you enjoy. Thanks. So I almost forgot the best part. So it comes, each one of these boxes came outside the box. They came in a one pack, but each one of these little boxes comes with a little one sheet guide. So a little story background that kind of uses the, I was expecting stats, I was expecting stat blocks, but there's some hooks, a little story, what the Morlocks are doing. Yeah, I was expecting a little bit more, you know, 5e centric, like an actual encounter, but it kind of just has a story of the gutters and the characters. So we'll look at some of the other ones. So a little bit about the fit. This is a much harder plastic than this. See how bendy that is? This is pretty stiff, and all of these guys, oh, this is a little flexy, just a little, but all the minis are hard as a rock. Maybe these are just flexy because they're thin, but this guy's stiff, and they still have the same issues. You know, those gaps are pretty egregious, especially on this tail here. You know, that's a pretty bad fit, and I had to carve and clean a lot. There was some flashing on one of the wings. That's a pretty bad fit, and I tried. I cleaned, I scraped. I don't know if you can see on the edge. So here's a little bit I missed on this little wing spike. Needs to be cleaned up a little bit. So I cleaned the edge of this one pretty hard, and those are pretty good gaps. I think what's happening, this is an injection molded process, so they liquefy the plastic and squeeze it into a rubber mold. And I think they must be using either too much pressure, or they're putting pieces that are too big and it's stretching the mold. I think the mold is deforming when they inject the plastic. I think their masters probably fit together like a puzzle. You know, they probably 3D print the masters, and they fit together like a glove, and then they go in and make the mold out of it, and it's fine, and then they go and inject it, and the mold blows up like a balloon, and the pieces deform. Or they're demolding them too fast, and it just has like a little bit of stretch like PVC. Okay, so I'm trying to assemble this big gold dragon, and I'm chopping off the ends of this so that it fits a little deeper, and I just can't get it. I can't get all the gaps closed. It's just a bad fit. So I think they still have the same issue, just the shape of this. Like, you can see how sharp, let me start pointing with stuff. You can see how sharp like this bump right here is, and that should line up with the mirror image. Let's see here. This goes like this, so the mirror image would be that way. Okay, so this bump right here should line up with a divot right here, and there isn't one. And just, there's a lot of texture in here where things should lock together. Like this should almost like pop in, and this one didn't have that. The flashing was really bad on here too, so I think they just they over injected this, and it blew the mold out like a balloon, so this deforms when it cools, and it's just a bad fit. The reason PVC doesn't hold good detail is because it adheres to itself too much. So instead of the stuff running into all the nooks and crannies, it kind of blows up like a balloon, and then when it cools down, it shrinks and contracts and pulls away from the details, and that's why everything looks rounded off and lack of detail. If you're making a PVC mold, you have to make like over-exaggerated deep details, where this Cyocast, resin stuff is supposed to hold the detail perfect. The stuff basically liquefies when it gets hot, just like HIPs, like polystyrene, so it flows into all of the details, and then when it solidifies, it keeps them. It doesn't warp and shrink and bend. Like, you should never have to boil these to unbend something. If something bent, that means it was bent, they pulled it out too hot and didn't let it cool long enough, or the mold is bad and the master was bent. Like, it should never happen. It's not like the PVC where they're like, it gets hot and it bends, and then you can like boil it and it'll pop back into shape and like have muscle memory and stuff. This doesn't work like that. This works more like the polystyrene, except that it can't use plastic glue. So they got to be doing something just a little bit wrong with their process, where it's making this stuff warp and not fit together like a puzzle after the fact.